All right, this is what we're doing today. We're setting up a brand new profile for the Azeron for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. First, you're going to open up your Azeron software. You got to open up your Azeron software, and then you're going to find a profile that you had for something prior, right? Something that you play all the time. So this is what I'm gonna use. This is what I play Valorant all the time. I play Shatterline all the time. Shatterline is probably something that's closer, but there's a lot of things I could use, but it doesn't really matter so much because I'm gonna pick Shatterline, right? So we're going to go down to add. It's going to copy the Shatterline profile because now these buttons are all the same as the Shatterline profile, but it's profile number 28. It's gonna be CODMW2, right? So we're gonna go in here. I'm going to remove all the ones that are not my default buttons, right? So primary, secondary can probably like stay here. Melee can stay here because that's a button I'm going to be using. So I'm probably just going to move this around, right? So we don't have a chosen abilities button. That's probably going to be a crouch button or something like that. I don't know. So depending on whether it's set to C or control, we'll find out in the keybinds, right? So we're going to get rid of ability 1, ability 2. We don't need that. And the only reason I'm deleting them is because they're named. Tab is a scoreboard. It's probably the scoreboard in this game too. Menu is going to be escape. That's going to be staying there because this is where one of my default buttons is for escape, right? Tag, we can get rid of that. We can keep use because I know I'm going to just move this button to somewhere else probably, but it's probably going to be F. I'll tell you that right now. Or interact. Right, and we're gonna make that F, so we're gonna accept that. But I actually think F is on my mouse. F is on my mouse, so I'm probably gonna not use interact on my Azeron actually. So primary, secondary, we're gonna keep that because 1 and 2 are gonna be the guns you're using, right? So you're gonna have 2 guns. I may move them around. I may move them like this because you can drag the buttons back and forth. Melee is probably going to be here. I'm probably going to keep that here, or I could move melee here if I want to. So we're going to get rid of ultimate, but reload, sprint, crouch, jump, primary 1 and 2 are going to be here. The scoreboard is going to stay here. This I can get rid of. I guess I can move the enter button right here if I ever need the enter button. I know that B is usually your your change fire button. So your fire mode, to change your fire mode, right? So fire mode, and I usually will either have it here or I can have it here, right? Then we could have with M, this is your map, so you could either have your map here, or you could put your map here, or you could put your map here. I'm not going to put my map here because I usually have my inventory here on other games, and my map is usually like right here. So I don't really need to pull up my map that often in this game because I'm probably going to be playing TDM. You don't really pull up your map like that often. This is usually like my push to talk button for the team. I can leave that there. I'm probably never going to be using it, but that's where it's going to be. So this is kind of my default core that I start with, right? So I did have fire mode on this, but this is my like default core that I start with. This is like a screenshot. So, you can keep that there or you can move it if you feel like you're going to bump it too much or whatever. But yeah, so this is my core setup, right? So then I go over here to the keybinds in the game, right? So interact here is Z. So it's Z. So Z is probably on my mouse. I can check that because usually I only really change 2 buttons on my mouse. And we're installing updates. So until those are done, we're going to scroll down here a little bit, past the move right, move left, or whatever, past the interact because we don't really need to see that. Okay, so then we're going to go keybinds, right? And then you have jump, mantle. That's going to be your space bar. That's always going to be your space. Space is already here. Prone is control. So prone is here, right? But I don't want that to be my crouch button. So I'm going to change this to C, right? And then we're going to have a prone button, but we're going to have a prone button somewhere else. So I'm just going to put prone here. So we're going to have prone. I have prone here in another game in Super People, so I'm going to put prone in the same spot, right? So we're going to make this control accept. So we have prone here. Change stance slide. I don't have a button for that. It's crouch, slide, C. So that's my C button right there. Sprint, tactical, focus, shift. Shift is already here on sprint. Then we have fire weapon, aim down sight. That's always the same. Reload is always the same, and reload is already here on my button. Then we have next weapon 2, and then we have, so we already have here secondary. They usually have secondary, but it's next weapon. So I guess it just rotates through your 2 weapons. So that's going to be here. Weapon mount. So like I will have mount. I can have mount here. And we're going to make that mouse button 5, which I believe is, what is it? It might be forward. Yeah, so M5 is forward on your mouse. So mouse button 5 is mount. Melee. So melee is actually on my mouse button 4, but I don't want it to be there. I want melee to be V. So actually I already have V set here. So V is already set to my melee. And that is on my Azeron already. So I'm either gonna have melee here or melee here. We'll see what feels better, right? We're gonna scroll down here a little bit. We're gonna scroll past there. So then we're gonna have lethal equipment, tactical equipment, field upgrade, right? So lethal equipment. So I'm gonna have since lethal equipment, tactical equipment, and field upgrade are skills, right? I'm gonna have those here. So we're gonna have lethal. You have lethal here, which is gonna be E. We're gonna have tactical here, which is going to be Q. And then we're gonna have field upgrade here, which is going to be X, right? So either lethal, tactical, and field upgrade. Tac. Field upgrade. Now, you don't have to take the time out to actually label all of these things, right? But if you do label them, you'll have a thing to cross-reference so that you don't have to go into the game's like keybinds to go check and see what your keybinds were and then like cross-reference them with what your keys are on the Azeron software. You can just label them in the Azeron software to make sure that you can have the key that they're set to and the name of it. So if yours is not going to be set like that by default, so I believe you have to go into here and click on show keybinds together with custom button labels. Turn that on. So that way you can have your labels and your keybind show together, right? So that way you can see what they are, and that way you don't have to. So if you leave and you come back and you don't remember which buttons were where, you can just literally just open up the Azeron software, look at it, and be like, oh, my lethal, tactical, and field upgrade is here. Jump, crouch, mount, sprint is here. And then like you have a system. So all of these buttons are movement buttons, right? These are where my movement buttons usually stay. Sometimes this might be a grenade, but my movement buttons are here. My reload is always here. Prone is within this area, like for your movement, right? Then you have these, which are like your skills for any other game, and like so that your grenade, your tac, your field upgrade. These are what would be your technically skills in this game. Then your guns, your fire mode, and your melee, your attacking things are like back here. So like I have like a system to where I put things. Scoreboard is always gonna go here. Little information stuff is here. So map and scoreboard, right? Then you have this is my push to talk party. And that's not necessarily what it is in this game, but if I decide to make it that's where it's gonna be, right? I don't know what I usually want to make my thumb button here, so I usually leave that blank. But for the most part, this is what my keybinds are going to look like. Now, if we scroll further down, we have overlay keybinds, show map, show scores is tab. This is M. My ping is on my middle mouse click. So that's on my mouse, right? So that's where my pings are on my mouse. Ping wheel is Alt. So if I want to change that, I can put Alt. I can put Alt somewhere, right? Maybe I can change this, put fire mode here, and then put Alt here for ping wheel, right? Just put Alt here. Boom. Alt. Change loadout. Change the loadout 1, and then change the loadout 2. You can have these here. I don't really use these. These are not like mandatory keybinds, but if you wanted to, you can have a layering button or something like that, and you can layer to it and change to all and use all these keybinds, right? So you don't have to have most of this stuff on your Azeron. You can, because I still have more buttons that are open, but I don't need all the rest of the buttons. So now I have my Azeron set up for Call of Duty. Now, this would be a lot faster if I wasn't making a video for it, but since I'm explaining what's going on and why I have this stuff the way I have it, this is how long it takes. Without me doing this video, this would have taken me like 2 or 3 minutes, like tops, like less than 5 minutes, to be honest, right? And then like if this was a game like Super People, or a game that had a whole lot of keybinds that were much more beneficial to have, then maybe less than 10 minutes or something like that if I really wanted to like check it out. Like now that I have everything set, it's like I know where my stuff usually is. I know where my skills usually are, right? So I have my skills here, I have my prone here because I remember that that's set like that in another game. I have my jump, crouch, mouse button 5, and sprint. I have my, switch this, so we don't really need this button because this button is just swap weapon. Right, this button is swap weapon. It's 2, change weapon. So that's here. So we still have an open button here. This is my ping wheel. This is crouch, lethals. So fire mode, I could put fire mode down here so that I can have it, so I can change my fire mode while I'm moving around, right? Because if I put it up here, I have to take my finger off of the joystick to press this. And sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you want to keep moving and press your fire mode button at the same time. Now, the thing I was talking about rotating the joystick, when I press this, right, if I'm pressing down and I want this to be right, and naturally when I press this, it goes like not completely right, but if I think this is right on my joystick and I want to change this so that this blue ball is here, right, you open this up and you go to angle, right? Now you can rotate this angle this way. You can just push it up, it's set angle, right? So when you push it, now where I'm pushing, it's all the way down here. So that's not where I want it. I want it to go back up. So where I'm going to go negative, right? I'm going to hit set angle. And now it's pushed. It's way closer to perfect when I press down. I'm not pressing it any different than I was before. I'm just pressing whatever I think is right. So now if I want to, I can move this back up some, hit set angle. And now I'm pretty much hitting perfect right. If I wanted to be a little nitpicky about it, I could still go back up a little bit more, hit set angle, and it's still a little funky, hit set angle. Now I'm hitting perfect right, what I think is perfect right, without moving my finger. This is how you fix the problem of your joystick not being accurate with WASD. Now when I press up, down, right, up, down, I'm hitting W and S, D, A, right? It swipes down here a little bit, like when if I'm not like really like paying attention, but like if you are paying attention to what you're doing, and it's like, oh, I need to press left, right? I need to press left. I'm going to press left, right? Now you could set your dead zones a little wider if you want to, so that you're not hitting down if you go down this way a little bit, because like even if you go down this way a little bit, you're still not hitting. So let's see if I want to bring up my dead zone a little bit, right? 32. Let's bring up my dead zone a little bit. So that's a little better, right? It's a little better. It still hits down here a little bit sometimes, but in most cases, when I'm using this for movement, whatever. But everything is set up now. Everything is set up now. So then we can just, you know, hop into some quick play.